Hey everybody, I'm Father John Reardon. I'm the Director of Recruiting for the Office of Vocations for the Diocese of Springfield. And I want to tell you about the upcoming World Day of Prayer for Vocations, coming up on this Sunday, April 30th, 2023, also known as Good Shepherd Sunday. In the Gospel, we hear Jesus speak of the nature of the Good Shepherd, the shepherd who calls out to his sheep, that he knows them by name, and the sheep who recognize the voice of the shepherd, they follow him. They go where he goes because they recognize his voice. Friends, the meaning of vocation comes from the Latin vocare, to call out. God calls out to us. Jesus calls out to his sheep, to his faithful people, and leads them to become the men and women he has created us to be. To know our vocation then, to know what we're called to be or who we are called to be, requires that we hear the voice of the Good Shepherd, that we know him. And so, a little advice to those who are discerning a life of a religious life in our diocese, right? To the men of our diocese especially, the youth, the young adults, the men of our diocese, if you're contemplating a vocation to the priesthood, let me give you this little piece of advice. First and foremost, spend some quiet time with the Lord in prayer. Spend some quiet time with him so that you might be able to effectively hear his voice call out to you and not be afraid to follow where he leads. And secondly, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to respond to that calling. Don't be afraid because we think sometimes that we might not be capable, or we don't have the right skill set or the gifts that are necessary to lead the faithful or to become his priest or the necessary holiness that is required of a religious vocation. Put all those things aside and simply trust. Trust in the Lord Jesus, that he knows what is best for you and for your life. We're not ourselves without God, and so we need to trust him, to go where he leads, to hear his voice. And so on this Good Shepherd Sunday, on this World Day of Prayer for Vocations, I speak to the men of our diocese that to consider and to ponder within your own hearts, is God calling you to be one of his priests? Is he calling you to be a diocesan priest, to serve the faithful, to serve the church here in Western Massachusetts? If he's calling you to be one of his priests, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and let's have a conversation about that. And let's be reminded too that to the faithful all over the Diocese of Springfield, to pray for our priests, to pray for those who help us to hear God's voice, to pray for those who lead us to the Eucharist, who are the vehicles and agents of God's mercy for us, to pray for our priests who have answered that call to priesthood, who have answered that call to lead the faithful, and to pray that the next generation of priests will rise up from the faithful in this diocese, and pray hard that God will send us laborers, faithful men, to be the next generation of priests for our diocese. May God bless you.